The first week of the NHL season for Connor McDavid didn't go as planned. Of course, he's now playing amongst men, no longer boys. He's still 18, so you got to give him a little bit of time to mature. Well, his second full week in the NHL seemed like he understood the ropes a little bit, came out, had a couple multi-point performance games, a weekend to remember, especially against the Calgary Flames. What do you make of him? Is he finally finding that groove? Nahreman.
Well, here's the thing. Your very first hockey night in Canada, it's your very first play on a national level, and he responded well. It was driving me nuts reading the responses, and most of the responses were from non-Oiler fans, but people calling him a bust, people wondering why hasn't he had a hat trick? It's been, 2 games in, 3 games in. Where's this, offensive prowess that we're so used to seeing him, when he was playing in the minors? And it's like, you guys need to relax. He is 18 years old. He is playing against men. He's going up against some of the best, like St. Louis. He's played them twice now. You look at their blue line, like Pietrangelo, Bouwmeester, like he's not going up against kids his own age. He's going against guys who've been in the league for years. But you can see the talent the kid has. You could see the way he stick handles around some of these guys and sometimes makes them look stupid. Like we saw that with the Calgary game, the way he stick handled. That would have been one of the goals of the year against Jonas Hiller, but Hiller with that ridiculous save on him became save of the year. But he is finding his groove, and I really do like him with Yakupov, and I think when Eberle comes back, it's going to be crazy.
What about the pressure? Do you think the pressure's now off him, Chris?
Never. I don't think all year it will be, because the fans there want a winner, so he's, of course, they want to see the offense from him too, but they just want to see a winner. So I think the pressure is going to be on him all year. And so far, he seems to be handling it well, which is good for him. There's a lot of expectations in that city.
Yeah.
That's
People
true.
really need to lay off of
There's
him.
a lot of
they really
tempered-
need to kind of let that.
They got to
off.
temper it out. Again, he's only 18 years old. He hasn't even hit his prime. I don't think he'll be there for another 6 or 7 years before he actually gets to the level, or even maybe 10 years if you think about it. All right, guys, well, how about this? You talk about a team that is really red hot before we went to commercial break, Montreal Canadiens. How about a team that's cooled off? And it's ironic because their team name is the Flames. They had a great season last year. This year, slow start, 1-4. Granted, I will say this, they had that amazing run, and this year, the first 5-10 games might not mean much going into games 75, 80, whatnot. But right now, this slow start, is it a blip in the radar, or is this maybe a cause of concern for them down the road?
Most people call this, though, because we already saw it a couple of years ago with the Colorado Avalanche, who were, after, under Patrick Roy's direction, like everyone was wondering, where is this team coming from? Yes, you got a lot of up-and-coming young stars on that team, but everyone was just like, they should not be as good as they are. And you could talk about the analytics crowd, you could talk about that sort of thing, but you look at Calgary last year and they were the comeback kids. It was only in the third period before they finally put on the Jets, and when they'd finally score, when they'd tie up the game, they'd win in overtime, that sort of stuff. But really, Calgary was never dominant from puck drop to the end of the puck, and a lot of people called it saying they can't keep up that hot streak. Yes, it's still fairly early in the season. I don't want Flame fans hating on me right now, but I'm just saying, it is fairly early, but to be, 1-4-1, I think it is?
Yeah, 1-4-0 to start the year. Chris, what do you make of
Yeah,
that?
I
Is
think
this
exactly.
a blip?
The Flames, I think, definitely overplayed their expectations last year, or outperformed expectations. So
They got better.
They did,
That's
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah,
And,
their
better
defense
this year.
is one of the best you'll
for sure.
see.
And
So
last year
I'm
they got a lot of
thinking
scoring from their defense.
I still think it's young, but do you guys see that there might be woes, especially maybe with the goalie situation?
Yeah.
And I know they're shopping Kari Ramo.
Yeah, and they've definitely got an unresolved situation there. They've got 2 cycling and thinking about 3. So, I mean, there's just a lot of changes, a lot of things up in the air on that team right now. But like you say, it's a small sample size, so see how the next month or so goes.
The problem, though, is you don't want to hit the panic button just yet, because we're only like a 3 weeks into the season. The problem, though, is when do you try and make some changes? When is it too late? You look at Columbus. They're 0-6. They have yet to win a game. So when do you hit the panic button, or when do you figure out things need to happen? Because we saw with the Oilers last year, they were done in October. They weren't mathematically eliminated, but there was no postseason for them. So you kind of look at that and it's like, when do you realize something needs to go, something needs to be traded? Maybe they're just in a little slump right now, but then they heat things up and they get going.
I think the barometer would be when you're getting closer to about mid-December. Then you know where your team is, how far back.
No point.
Then you'll go from there when you've played about 30, close to 40 games in. I want to talk about teams that have been fantastic in the NFL. You have 5 teams remaining that are undefeated, and there's a couple of the, no surprises there. The New England Patriots. The Denver Broncos is becoming one that's really a head-scratcher, considering how poorly Peyton Manning has played. But you have a surprise even in the Cincinnati Bengals. So out of those teams, as well as the Panthers and Packers, who will remain undefeated the longest? Patriots, Bengals, Broncos, Panthers, Packers. Those 5.
I think I'd have to go with the Patriots. I think they're the most complete team. They've been there the longest. Brady can make everybody around him better.
And they got a chip on their shoulder, right?
They do. I would say Green Bay, except their defense is probably not enough to keep them undefeated all year. Denver, like you say, that's a mystery because, they have not really been good overall. Manning has not been good at all. And they've just kind of, they barely beat the Browns. Our Browns, they barely beat them. So.
No kidding. I'm going to blame Mike Pettin. That should have been their first loss. But you look at that defense, it's been fantastic. But you still have issues on offense. You have the Patriots who have a will to win. But what about the Bengals? Like the Bengals haven't been 6-0 since the year they made the Super Bowl in '88, and they had a guy named Boomer Esiason. Boomer was his name as their quarterback. You got their, what do they call them? Not the Red Rocket, but what do they have the name for Andy Dalton?
Oh, yeah, I can't remember.
Red Rocket would work.
It would work.
Either way, he's been launching the balls to A.J. Green as well as the other receivers. He's done a fantastic job.
No,
That's my bet.
I was going to say, like with the Broncos, they had a couple of last-minute wins, like just spectacular to-the-wire wins kind of thing. You look at the Packers, and it's actually surprising seeing the injuries that they have sustained early, like in the preseason, early in the season. So that's kind of surprising. But we always talk about how good quarterbacks can make your team a good team. I think it's going to be the Patriots, and this is why, though, is they're going to go the entire season undefeated, and then it's going to be memories of, the Super Bowl where up until the very final game, and then karma's going to come around, and boom, they're going to lose their first game.
If that happened, that'd be remarkable. Because remember, the year they went 17-1 was the same year, was the year after the whole scandal with the Spygate situation.
Right.
You have Deflategate.
Yeah.
Controversy just seems to follow this.
But when they
totally coincidental.
But when they do, the year following, they put up lightning numbers, and that's what they're doing now. All right, we're going to take a commercial break.
He said.
There you go. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to have over/under next.